The Spurs are in the middle of the offseason, but is there still work to do on the roster?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia. I am a Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back, and we appreciate y'all making Locked On Spurs your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. You guys are the everydayers. Subscribe on, let's see, where else you can go? YouTube, where else? You got iTunes, you got the Ken's 5 Plus app. You got so many avenues to check out Locked On Spurs. Go subscribe right now. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. You want to go and take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be looking at the Spurs roster. They made a big move addressing the big man recently, Cornett. So he's on board. But is there still more work to do? We're going to give our kind of our overall view of the roster as it stands at this recording, and then look at the free agency pool. I'll just let you know right now, we're getting to the bottom of the barrel right now. So we'll see about that. Some names on there the Spurs could probably look at, and then get a Spurs Summer Squad League update. Yeah, the Summer Spurs are about to get some action in a few days. Tomorrow or this weekend they start. And we'll hear from our good friend Casey Viera as he was at a recent practice with the Summer Spurs. He's going to do that and more. Bringing my guest here. He is back, everybody. The Vin Dog, Mr. Vinnie Vinzetta. He's with Ken's 5 TV. Follow him on X at VVinzetta. Vinnie, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
Always good to be back. Good to see you, sir.
Oh, yeah. Glad to have you back. And, I was thinking about this. Did we call you the Vin Dog? All this stuff. How many push-ups do you get right now in a row? If we said right now, get on the floor, Vinnie, do push-ups. How many you can get?
I'm going to go inside of 5 on a good day. Well, don't anybody bet on me. Now I want to take some action on that, Vinnie. I think you can break better. Now I do go to the gym. I hike. I get in some cardio, do some weightlifting. But I'd go low on my push-up effort right now.
Man, how many can you get if the money on the table is $1,000?
That could give me a little more effort. I could reach down, maybe find something extra.
All right. Again, he is the Bin Dog. Follow him on X at VVinzetta. Do that right now. Again, he's with Ken's 5 TV, from sports to food. What's going on in San Antonio? He does it all. More of that later. Well, Vinny, I'm glad you're back because first of all, you're going at a good time right now. The Spurs make their big move, pun intended, bringing in Luke Kornett to address the depth that they needed behind Victor Wembanyama. Before we get into some names and some specific areas of the roster right now, what do you think about the reported bringing in of Luke Kornett? By the way, everybody, the Spurs have not officially announced that.
Well, I want to pause a little bit when I see certain Spurs social media sites saying it's Twin Towers 2.0, Tim Duncan, David Robinson. I don't know that it's that. But it is a 7-foot a 7-foot body in there. He did some decent things for the Celtics in the playoffs. I would encourage everyone to check out, I was reading his Wikipedia page, and I don't know if you know this, he has this defensive move called the Eclipse. And what that means is, if you could put me back on camera, I can demonstrate.
Right here.
What he does is he jumps and puts his arms straight up like this. And he actually did a pretty good job if you look at the stats of interrupting three-point shooters. So, I'm not so much focused on maybe what he brings to the table offensively.
Sure.
It's a move that he calls his own, the Eclipse, and I guess he's perfected it. So I'm excited about maybe what he brings on the defensive end of things for the Spurs this coming season.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of stung a little bit, I thought it was a bit of an overpay for a guy who averaged about 6 points a game, maybe about 6-7 rebounds. But the market value right now for bigs just in the NBA right now, I think it hovers around 14-12 million a year. So the Spurs got themselves a little bit of a bargain there. But all right, so Vinny, we know the Spurs address the need for a big, but looking at the roster as a whole right now, do you see some holes that are still needing to be filled?
Well, I would say holes from the standpoint of is there room for another shooter? Do they need another shooter? It feels like the answer is yes.
Yes.
But also, can they continue to develop what's in house and find that shooter? Maybe so. But as you mentioned at the top, it's getting thin, so there's not a ton out there. But as much as I feel like they're done, I feel like there is room for one more move, and that would be to find a shooter that can fit into the system where, like, you don't have to be a guy that racks up the scoreboard every night. Just be a sharpshooter that can get some things done in critical moments.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we'll look at some names in a bit, but there were some names that were on the board no longer that stung, and I thought maybe the Spurs should have looked at them a little bit more of the magnifying glass to see them bring them on. Guys like Duncan Robinson, gone. Who else? Just shooters out there. Luke Kornett, that got sent to Atlanta. Those perfect kind of sniper guy. Yeah, your thoughts?
There was a lot of conversation about a guy like Luke Kornett even before Duncan Robinson would fit in San Antonio. And as soon as I saw the tweet there, the X, whatever we call it these days, from Shams Charania, I read closely. I thought, oh, Luke, come. No, he's not coming to San Antonio. And then I put on my X page, I said, come on, just because the guy's name is Duncan Robinson, you've got to get to San Antonio. It makes perfect sense. But I think you make a good point. Those are two that kind of, you could argue, slipped away. I mean, Robinson goes to a really healthy situation with the Detroit Pistons, who just are, man, it's like the old days at the Palace at Auburn Hills are coming back to Detroit. They're looking really good.
You mentioned a good point right now. In-house, they do have shooters. Now, I don't know they're snipers, but they definitely can stretch the floor a bit. Harrison Barnes can do that. We know he can. Wemby can too. He showed throughout his few years here in San Antonio. Then there's a guy I think that's getting kind of lost in all this, Julian Champagnie. What do you think about him? He definitely upped his shooting game last season, but once again, we saw it kind of fizzle out as the season went on. Do you think they're going to look at him as their sniper?
When he gets hot, he's hot.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Can he do it? Can he do it beyond April 15th? And of course, we have no evidence of that because they've never been in the playoffs since he's been around.
There you go.
But yeah, that's such a big difference between doing it in a game against Utah in the middle of December or before the All-Star break, and can they do it when you get into the postseason? We just don't know. But yeah, I mean, Julian, it's a good name. He really can get hot and knock some down. But I would leave a question mark there. I just don't know what to say for sure on that.
Yeah, that's the thing right now. You look at the roster up and down, and do the Spurs have guys that can stretch the floor? Yes, but they're just not consistent. Devin Vassell's another name that pops up. What about Malachi Branham? You were high on him coming in.
Been waiting.
The league.
Waiting for a long time, and there's a couple of guys that are on the clock. Your Malachi Branhams, your Blake Westleys of the world, and see what else they can do. And look, I've long called Devin Vassell a professional scorer, and I do like what he can do offensively, but he's a guy that can really hit big 3-pointers for you. You'd like to see maybe it be more consistent, but there's a guy I look at and say, can he be that knockdown sharpshooter you need opposite having a Wemby and a De'Aaron Fox and some of the stars that he'll be out there with?
Yeah, and you look at off-season videos, every NBA player does this. Look at me, I'm in the gym, Jeremy Sohan showing off that he's working on his three. It looks a little cleaner, but we'll see how that looks during a regular season game. And then there's Stefan Castle. He's okay, I guess. He'll hit the three, but not as consistent. Off-season, again, he's showing a video of him knocking down the three. So we'll see if that will pan out next season. But here's a couple of names I want to throw as a wild card here. What about the rookie, Carter Bryant? I mean, he's your typical 3-and-D guy. He can hit the threes. But the question for me is, will he get minutes to show that he can knock that down? And then the other name is right in Austin, Riley Minix. The guy's a sniper. He's there. Your thoughts?
We don't know much about Riley because of the injury situation. So I look forward to seeing what he can do. And I've been thinking about this. And what do I know? I mean, I'm not in the building. I'm not a coach, but I feel like Carter will get early season run to see where the athleticism really is and what kind of damage he can do from three. But that's what they say he is. Now, let me add to that from some of the highlights I've watched from the University of Arizona. Carter Bryant, man, he can explode at the rim. I mean, I don't know what you've seen, but he can explode and finish and dunk like a machine. So I want to tell everybody, all we hear about Carter Bryant is 3 and B. Man, keep your eyes open. If that guy gets a chance to drop the hammer in the lane, he will. I love his raw athleticism. It's so fascinating that a guy that was a lottery pick came off the bench for Arizona, for the Arizona Wildcats. That's bizarre. Tommy Lloyd, their head coach, talked about that. Say he just kind of maybe got lost in the mix a little bit, and some other guys showed up and showed out. But everybody knows over there in Tucson, like this guy is wildly athletic and can do a lot of things. So wouldn't surprise me if at least early he shows a lot of good things. I was on a podcast with some guys from Tucson, and they said, do you think that he'll be shipped off to Austin for a time just to kind of figure it out? I said, I guess that maybe wouldn't shock me if he gets a stint there just to kind of figure it out. But I would expect him to have plenty of time on the big club too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and I have high hopes for the kid. But again, he has to prove it, and he'll begin in the summer league. More on that later. But it's obvious the Spurs have still that glaring hole right now as 3-point snipers. And in today's NBA, Vinny, it's literally you win by the 3 or you die by the 3 sometimes in these games. We'll see what the Spurs do. Hey, we're not done talking about this. We're going to look at the free agency list. Is there anybody out there that the Spurs can look to bring in to fill some roster spots? More of that and more right here on Locked On Spurs with Vinnie Vinzetta. Follow him on X at @VVinzetta. Hey, I want to talk about Monarch Money. You ever wish that you were managing your money in an easier way? With Monarch Money, you can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning on a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending in one spot. So in addition to managing your money, you can start building your wealth. You get a lot of things with it. You can start tracking your spending. What do you spend the most on? Where do you need to tighten the belt a bit? Too much takeout, subscriptions. Monarch Money will help you do that. If you share finances with someone, you can monitor that as well. And if you have a goal in mind, Monarch Money can help you with that. Look, what more do you need? Go to Monarch Money right now. You'll be surprised at everything it has to offer. Take control of your finances right now with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Vinnie Vinzetta. Make sure to follow him on X at VVinzetta. I still think he can hit 12 good push-ups. 12 good push-ups, Vinnie. I want to take some action on that. I want to bet somebody you can. What if the pot was 1,500? Can you get 12?
God, that's a tough ask. You got a lot of faith in me.
I got money riding on you, Vinnie.
Can I get in a few practice days? How about that? Kind of.
Okay, all right.
Recapture some magic. Recapture my youth.
All right. We are talking about the silver and black, obviously, here on Locked On Spurs. And we looked at the roster right now. We looked at the just as presently constructed with the addition of Cornett. The Spurs still need some snipers. Now, yes, in their own backyard, there's Champagny, Barnes, yes, Wemby. The list goes on. But if we have to dive into the free agency pool as of this recording, Vinny, there's not much left. There really isn't. I got a feeling this might have to be homegrown because we look at the free agents right now that are available. Josh Giddey, nope, I'm going to pass on that. He's a restricted free agent.
Yep.
But then there's the wild card, and that is Damian Lillard. I don't think he'll come to San Antonio, but he is last season shot 38% from the 3 line, and we know he can be a sniper. But outside of him, Jonathan Kuminga, no. Malik Beasley, no way after the issues that he's going through right now. Cam Thomas, maybe.
Yeah. Quentin Grimes, yeah.
What do you think?
It's nothing that really moves the meter. Just kind of, of the ones you just mentioned, Giddy, Grimes, Thomas, Kuminga, Al Horford. I mean, just I don't know. I'm almost willing to say just keep working what you got in house. Lillard is interesting. Sure, he's not going to play for a while because of the injury, but maybe he shows up just in time to help you down the road. But yeah, in the immediate. Just not much that really says, yes, reach out and get him and get him here.
Yeah. Which leads me to this point. If the Spurs are not going to have, consistent shooters from the 3 line, then you know what they better do? They better play some defense on that 3 line then. They better run all those guys at the 3. Because how many times last season or years past, Vinny, we saw this scenario? So-and-so player from such and such team hit their career high in 3-point shooting versus the Spurs. That was like repeated over and over and over. I mean, from the last guy on the bench to one of the starters, somebody went off on the Spurs from the 3 line. So my thing is this: if they're not going to have snipers, then their perimeter defense better be really bleeping good. Vinny, your thoughts?
I mean, if there's going to be a give and take, yeah, that is absolutely the answer. And there's such a big difference between regular season defense and playoff defense, but the Spurs need to kind of grasp some playoff defense in the regular season because that's been a big missing link for this team. You can't keep playing, and I know it happens a lot in the regular season, but at some point you can't keep playing these 142, 135 regular season games. You've got to slow some people down. So yeah, good point by you. I mean, if there was ever a day in the NBA where you need to run people off the 3-point line, that is right now. Absolutely.
Scenario here. Would you entertain a deal for a sniper right now? If this
I would,
you would.
Yeah,
okay. That might have to be the route they go to bring in a guy. I don't think you just need a guy who's in the mode of a Matt Bonner, Danny Ferry, Danny Green, corner 3 shot, something like that. Just hit those threes because the Spurs need it, and they desperately do need it because of the spacing. And that's the thing. As of right now, they'll probably get the spacing off a lot of cuts, right? Because we know Harper can get to the rim. Obviously, we know Castle can. We know Keldon definitely can. And I think that's how they're going to make the most spacing right now. But, man, just opening up that lane for Wemby, for everybody else, would be great. And I just think the Spurs need that. But it's just unfortunate the Spurs right now in the free agency pool, there's really nothing much. And that's my biggest fear, Vinny, right, is going into next season is, man, they still have the snipers. And I'm glad they brought in Cornett. I mean, that addressed the biggest issue. But it's like, for me, it was always one backup big and then 1B with shooting, because that's how important it is in today's NBA. Vinny, you've been covering the NBA for so long. I don't think I've ever seen a league where it's just so 3-point happy.
So 3-point happy, especially in the regular season. It tightens up a little bit, in the playoffs. But yeah, it's if there's a 3 to be taken, it's not being passed up on by teams in the league this season. So yeah, everybody has a specialty in that and has a specialist. But I like that thought. If there's a deal to be made, because the Spurs have plenty of assets to work with, whether that's future picks or guys on the roster that you can send out, and if you can land a sharpshooter via trade, I would be fully on board to pull that trigger.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, before we hit the break here, though, we've been mentioning Cornett's name, and yes, in my opinion, I think it's a good pickup. It's exactly what the Spurs needed. That's the type of bid they need. But was it the right big? Do you think the Spurs maybe should have gone for a stretch big, like a Brook Lopez, who's now with the Clippers? What do you think?
I think there's an argument for it because bigs shoot threes. The best shoot threes. And so that's the world we live in the NBA these days. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they miraculously develop Cornett into a 3-point shooter, but yes, that is an area that bigs really utilize, as everybody knows. So yeah, I would have been for that move. Now Brook Lopez is, he's knocking on the door of 40 years old. He's been around a while, but it's obviously a pro's pro, but yeah, there's also an argument for that. Yep.
Yeah, there definitely is. And, I'm looking down the free agency list here, and again, Al Horford, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, the Spurs will definitely have work cut out for them, which is why it's so important of the Summer League. Yeah, the Summer League is right around the corner. Your Summer Spurs will be picking up action, I believe, this weekend out of the California Classic. Unfortunately, Dylan Harper is not going to be played for that tournament, but he'll likely play for Vegas. You know what, let's go and take a break. When we get back, let's talk about the Summer Spurs. What did they say during practice? And what did our good friend Casey Viera have to report from the Victory Capital Performance Center for the recent Summer Spurs practice? All that and more right here on Locked On Spurs with Vinnie Vinzetta. You want to follow him on X at @VVinzetta.
Day one of camp in the books for the Spurs, and the big story right now is who's not going to be here. A lot of anticipation around Dylan Harper's debut. Well, a minor groin injury is going to sidetrack that ahead of the California Classic in just a couple of days. Carter Bryant, however, the other prized rookie coming over from Arizona, will be playing and feeling good, feeling happy about his debut in the coming days.
One thing I just want to bring is the physicality, the defensive side of the ball, being able to guard multiple positions, know guys' tendencies, being able to keep them in front of me, guard multiple actions and make multiple efforts, I think is a big thing for me because, like, everybody wants to score the ball, but, like, how do I separate myself? How do I get those early minutes? How do I find myself on the floor? So I think defense in terms of that is just something I could do to get on the floor. Nothing's changed. It's basketball at the end of the day. Like, the ball goes in the hoop the same way. You play the same exact way. Like, the physicality and the players change. But outside of that, it's just basketball at the end of the day. You have to treat it the same as you treated it your whole life, just enjoying the game, having fun. And I think the biggest thing for me, I'm just trying to be a sponge, whether that's talking to Steph, talking to Harrison, talking to all these guys, just being around these dudes, asking questions from the coaching staff as well, just being engaged in everything as well. So that's been the main focus for me. I think everything happened so fast. I think the thing that really put me in a whirlwind is when I walked into a breakfast, Manu was there, and then I saw Timmy D and I saw Coach Popovich, so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's my whole childhood just standing right in front of me. Like, these dudes know my name, like, they're greeting me, telling me I'm a hell of a player and all these things. It's like, this is crazy. Like, this is my childhood right in front of me.
Of course, the immediate parallel around here with Bryant being an Arizona Wildcat, Sean Elliott. And equally the same amount of hype going around that, with Elliott saying Bryant reminds him of him, and Bryant himself saying, well, he reminds me of me. Equal expectations going forward. With the Spurs, I'm Casey Viera.
And we're back. We're here at Locked On Spurs, joined by Vinnie Vinzetta, my colleague at Ken's 5 TV. Make sure to follow him on X at @VVinzetta. And we just heard from Casey Viera, by the way. Salute, Casey. Thank you for that video from the Summer Spurs. And with no Dylan Harper, at least not for the California Classic, all eyes should probably be at Carter Bryant. What is he going to bring? He was the 14th pick overall, and he felt that he was a steal for San Antonio. He was projected to go a lot higher than that. We just heard from Carter Bryant. What are your impressions so far of the kid?
Man, Jeff, that kid is so well-spoken. I just really respect and kind of feel like he already gets the Spurs culture and the Spurs way. I was just really taken back about how well he did when they were introduced at the press conference last weekend. But file that sound bite away you just heard. He said, what separates guys? Everybody wants to score the basketball. What's going to separate me? Defense, and not just defense, guarding multiple positions. You know how big that is? That's huge, man. That to hear a rookie say that, I understand that people want to take pride and lay some groundwork on defense, but they're saying it on day one of summer camp, like he understands that's what he needs to be and who he wants to be. So I love hearing that. I mean, let's go on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with no Harper there, that'll give him a lot more touches because he's going to need it, because I think minutes are going to be tough for him to carve out, maybe to start his pro career when the regular season goes up. He's playing behind Harrison Barnes, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Dylan Harper, so he's going to have to get all the time he can to prove to the coaching staff, Mitch Johnson, et cetera, that, hey, I need minutes, and hopefully he'll get to do that. And I get it, it's summer league, it's not an NBA or even preseason game yet, but it's still something. Now, one of the things that Carter Bryant brought up was how vocal Dylan Harper has been. And I'm not just saying, him talking trash or anything, Vinny. I'm saying the leadership. And Bryant, even went as far as said, like, whenever Harper talks, people listen. I like that. I like hearing that out of your number 2 pick, because I expect that coming out of a number 2 pick overall. It looks like if the Spurs do that vocal floor in general, they might have it in the rookie Dylan Harper. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I heard the same thing, and I love hearing that too. I mean, there are guys that are quiet leaders that let their skills do the talking, but I admire a guy that wants to raise his voice. He's got skills on the court, X's and O's wise, but he also wants to be a talker and lead like that. You got to have that, especially at the pro level. So good on Dylan Harper for wanting to embrace that role. I respect that, and I look forward to him executing that part of his game. Absolutely.
Can you imagine, Vinny, walking into breakfast and seeing Tim, Manu, Pop, just legends sitting there with you, just like Carter Bryant experience? That'd be.
I won't know what to do.
Experience.
I'd say get me a glass of orange juice and I'll just chill out in the corner here. That's incredible for those guys get to experience that, and that just that would send a message if I was a rookie, like they really believe in me and they expect big things from me, and that's why these legends, and that's what they are sitting with me. So yeah, that's got to go a long way. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Hopefully, I never really fanboyed out being in the locker room. I think the one time I got close to it was when I saw Manu Ginobili there at his locker and me standing right next to him and nobody around him. And I'm like, that's Manu right next to me. That's Manu Ginobili right there.
That's what happens to me when I walk into a room and I see you and Casey Viera.
Come on, Vinny. Please. But yeah, your Summer Spurs will kick off this weekend, again in the California Classic. Again, the Spurs say that it's a groin injury to Harper, but we'll see. It's expected, though, he will play in Vegas, and even then, I can see the Spurs playing them maybe 2 games and shutting them down. And that's just been his team. Yeah.
In fact, I think that would be the call. Completely agree with that. No reason to risk anything. Get him out there, limited minutes, a game or 2. Yes, I'm with you on board all day long on that. Yep.
Absolutely. He is Vinnie Vinzetta, the Vin Dog. He's with Ken's 5 TV. Follow him on X at V Vinzetta. Vinny, what do you got cooking on your neck of the woods?
Just post the draft here. Just kind of moving slow for a couple of days, man. There's a small window in the sports world. Once you get rocking and rolling from mid-July until whenever the Spurs are finished, or high school or college sports, it's been a rush this spring. Been a lot going on. I'm just kind of counting down to 5 days in Montana at Yellowstone National Park. Kind of my summer oasis for a few days to get away here in a few weeks and just kind of exhale before football season shows back up. So yeah, not a whole lot going on. Just as you have said there, some Summer Spurs, and then counting down to the start of football season. I have started a new little fun segment that airs on both broadcast and on my Twitter page, my X page, called a Vinnie Visit. And I put out my first 2. The very first one was with former UTSA quarterback Frank Harris, kind of a legendary name in the city. And then did another one with the UIW football Cardinals head coach Clint Killow. It's no more than $1:45, 2 minutes, just kind of some fun facts and catch up on life and just a couple of fun questions for those guys, and just a new little fun segment, hopefully, in my world, just to catch up with local sports faces throughout the calendar year. So I've already got 6 or 7 in the can, so I've got more coming this next month and as we move into the fall.
Vinny, 20 push-ups. 20 push-ups.
Wait, we've gone from 3 to 12 to 20. What is happening here?
Because we're going to up the pot to 2K. We're up in the pot. Can you hit 20 in a row for 2K?
Absolutely not. Remember that scene? Remember that scene from the movie Stripes where wants to see how many Bill Murray could do? He does like 3. That's me. That's me right now.
He is Vinnie Vinzetta. Again, check out Vinnie Visits. You can follow that and more. Just go to his X page, The Vinzetta. Do that right now. Check out all the Vinnie Visits, the ones that are upcoming. And, of course, his coverage for all things sports in San Antonio and beyond, from Spurs to high school. Vinnie does it all for Ken's 5 TV. So, again, Vinnie, we thank you for taking time out of your schedule for joining us here on Locked On Spurs. As always, everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen and watch every single day. Make sure to follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. The list goes on and on. You guys are the everydayers. We'll be back tomorrow with Casey Viera. Yeah, Casey will be joining us to wrap up the week here at Locked On Spurs. We're going to talk about more about the Summer Spurs and, all things silver and black. So for Vinnie Vinzetta, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.